really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
Woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Wow, wee wow, Eric Butler reporting Opine. Key and Simone of Alberta fame. How are you guys doing?
Amazing, thank you.
Good, man, good. I like that intro.
Thank you. I edited it myself, Kian. As an editor, you should appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. We're on Getter. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on everything except for Twitch, which I could turn this on, but I don't know if anybody's going to see that. So much to talk about, you guys. Just absurd. I think, Eric, what are we on? Week 9 of Lia Thomas saga that never ends?
Yeah, dude. More than 2 months now. We've been dealing with this handsome young woman.
But some new information coming out here as I get this on the screen, and as soon as we get it up here, minds are going to be blown. Lia Thomas finishes last place in NCAA championship, 100-yard freestyle. Now, this comes just days after Lia, codename Frankfurter, I don't know, won by like 5 seconds in the regionals where they send a bunch of people to the national finals, bumping a girl off who, of course, trained her whole life for this. She was not pleased. I'm pretty sure she came out with an article, press release today saying how unfair it is, a Hungarian girl. But I digress. Here he is in all his glory. Lia Thomas finished last place in the NCAA championship 100-yard freestyle on Saturday after a string of victories in the famed Penn transgender swimmer beat out of Olympic silver medalists. Now, at that last event a few days ago, that's when the most coverage, I think, has been on this story. People in the crowd not happy, people watching at home not happy. As I said, one of the swimmers talking out about it. So tons of pressure. ESPN interviewed him, didn't mention anything other than it's controversial. What do you think? Oh, I don't really pay attention to it. Clearly he does. Thomas lost to Virginia freshman, Gretchen Walsh, who set a new pool and program record by finishing first place, 46.06. Alabama senior, second place. North Carolina junior Thomas set a program record last Thursday, came in dead last with a time of 48.18. So the guy who's been beating people by 5 seconds, which is absolutely crushing people, now loses by almost 2 seconds. Let's see, more than 2 seconds, 46.06 and 48.18. Entered with the fourth fastest time. And now another competition them were in, finished 5th place in the 200 free final on Friday. An event who's reporting this? Of course, it's Breitbart, okay. For an event he was reportedly slated to win. So here's some footage, I think, perhaps of the end. We won't get the audio here, but we don't need it. It's just swimming.
But now, do we remember, though, week 1? Was it week 1 or week 2 when he was demolishing these girls by 35 seconds or whatever it was?
Yeah, that was the just for the the Ivy League stuff.
Okay.
So then they had to go to qualifications, and now you can see. Let's see if we can spot any obvious. I mean, how hard would it be to just move slower, though? It can't be that hard to fake being slower at swimming. Kian, do you have any experience in swimming competitions?
I don't, but I have a hot take on this that I think that he lost on purpose.
Yes, I agree. And the title of the podcast is what I thought.
The title track?
He threw the rice. Yeah, I do say title track recently. I think that's him right there in the third lane, if I'm not mistaken, just way behind. And wouldn't it be funny if he wasn't faking it? But look at this. I don't know if you ever, having said that, I don't watch college women's swimming, so I wouldn't know. But I feel like the crowd is not at capacity most of the time, especially when people are wearing masks. But maybe, Eric, what do you think? His guilty conscience threw it on purpose to avoid anything, We've got the
No,
Virginia
it
tape
has
on the
nothing.
back.
It has nothing to do with a guilty conscience, right? So he knew that people were a little bit unhappy about the last shellacking, whatever, 5 seconds, no problem, right? But it's not about a guilty conscience. If it was about a guilty conscience, this wouldn't even be happening at all. This is obviously just political. It's not about swimming. It's just now, okay, so after you're, kicking the crap out of these women, and it becomes painfully obvious that you're going to win every single time, you have no choice but to step off the gas a little tiny bit and say, look, well, see, told you there's no advantage here. I came in dead last. Like, what do you think I really just slowed down on purpose? Well, yeah, bro, we do. You're like 6'3". You know what I mean? So it's another political move to prove to people that, see, so all the crazy people out there protesting Matt Walsh and the people in Florida mad that you can't talk to children about sex. They're like, see, that it's all the same. We're all equal, bro. It's a political move, and it has been from the very beginning.
Before I get to you, Kian, the person who remained, anonymous, a teammate of Thomas, claimed that the two conspired with each other as a way to hit back at anti-trans critics. So that's crazy. Looking at Lia's time, I don't think she was trying. The Penn swimmer told Outkick, I know they're friends, and I know they were talking before the meet, and I think she let her win to prove the point. So that was about, and the reason I bring that up, Eric, is because remember who the last person Lia Thomas beat was?
The other
transgender swimmer.
Who
that was the last time.
But for the record, let's not leave this out, is that transgender swimmer was a woman transitioning into being a man,
right,
but still competing with women because, again, it has nothing to do with swimming. It's just about politics, right? Like, if you want us to believe that you're a man, then you need to go swim with the men, but it's never going to happen.
I can't wait to find out how that person does in men's swimming. Kian, what do you think happened here?
I'm just still trying to digest this, to be honest. I haven't been keeping up with it too much. I don't care about swimming, nor do I care about women swimming.
Unbelievable.
So
that is the correct answer. That's the correct answer.
I really don't have a take other than it's obvious that he threw the race so that it looks like he's not being foul play. It's just kind of like when dudes go and fight in the UFC on the girl side. You kick someone's ass and then like you get your ass kicked next time. I guess I don't know. Just so it looks fair. That's all I really have to say. That's insane.
This reminds me of a Seinfeld. Everything reminds me of a Seinfeld episode, but it's like the race when Jerry gets the head start and he's trying to pretend that he didn't get the head start. It's like, dude, this is obviously so bogus. I can't believe. Actually, I can believe. What am I talking about? We called it a long time ago that this story had no choice but to spiral out of control, and here we are, where he's a champion in the 500, becomes dead last in 100 or whatever. It's like, dude, what planet are we on? How stupid do they think we are, bro? We can see you. It's like, bro, they think that, I guess there are a lot of stupid people, maybe California, New York, whatever, but like, we can see you, bro. We can look right at you. We can see your 6'3" frame, your wingspan, and it's also very strange. Now I'm just being petty, but remember those photos? There were like older photos of him swimming on the men's team, but still wearing the women's outfit. And it's like, dude,
yes,
you're not tricking us. Like, we're not fooled. You're literally not fooling anybody. The only people in your corner are just weirdo political, authoritarians that want you to believe a fake reality, but nobody's really supporting this. There's nobody. If you could get anybody, it could be the furthest left weirdo on the planet. If you talk to them one-on-one in a room over a cup of coffee or a beer, they would have no choice but to admit the truth that this is absolutely insane. And maybe it wouldn't be that bad if she wasn't the height of a basketball player. You know what I mean? Like, if you got like a little short guy and, a little frail guy, then maybe you could, but you probably wear like a size 13. You got these big broad shoulders and nobody's buying it, bro. Give it up. That's awful.
Well, another thing to point out is that he was like 254th or something like that in the men's, and then but didn't transition at all. I don't know what the process is there, but goes into the women's category and all of a sudden is top 5 in the country. Even if he placed last in this event and 5th in the other one, you're still top 5 in the country, top 6 in the country after going to 200 somethings in the country.
I feel like it was worse, though, wasn't it? Like 400?
456.
Yeah, 400.
456.
Yeah.
Even I saw that yesterday. 456.
And to make that big of a jump, just like that should be obvious. And now in a little bit other sports, I know sometimes we get into becoming a sports cast, but this will be the last sports thing of the day. We have ESPN and women's basketball, another college. They're really dragging these poor college age girls through the fire here. And they're responding to the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which of course is not what it is. It's a way to, try to discredit it. All it is you can't. There's no sex ed to kindergarten to grade 3, so that's like 5 or 6 to 8 years old, and this is what people are fighting for. For some reason, you got to teach, sex ed and gender and transgenderism to young children. Meanwhile, when I was in grade 1, we were busy making fun of the kid who pooed his pants, but not too many conversations about gender. So ESPN during the women's national basketball tournament, which is
That
March
nobody was
Madness,
watching.
that's correct. And I want everybody to pay attention to the score of the game when we play this video. But so after ESPN anchors did a moment of silence and they had a walkout, they did this live on air where they say, "We're doing it for like our sisters" or something. I'll just play it, but pay attention to what the score is.
Ago, our LGBTQIA plus teammates at Disney asked for our solidarity and support, including our company's support in opposition to the parental rights in education bill in the state of Florida and similar legislation across the United States.
And a threat to any human rights is a threat to all human rights. And at this time, Courtney and I, we're going to take a pause from our broadcast to show our love and support for our friends.
Oh, they didn't show it. Wrong
moment
one,
of silence.
They
didn't
picked the
show
perfect
moment
time
of
for the
silence.
moment of silence for when the game started to suck more than it actually sucks.
They had the
knew that
score.
no one was going to score anymore, so they're just like, okay, we'll go silent here.
The score was 44-4 at half. So it wasn't a good game to play with. These girls have no idea what they're talking about. You could see this Carolyn Peck woman just reading off the sheet. Courtney Lyle is the other one I'm just reading off the screen. And she says legislature across the country. That's not the right word, but legislation. And they're saying it's parents' rights. So what exactly are you saying? It's a parent's right to have the school teach a particular ideology to young children. That's a parent's right. If you want to teach that kid whatever you want to teach them at home, that's what your right is. It's not your right to tell the state that it has to educate children on something that applies to other children. We're not talking about math. We're not talking about science. We are a little bit, maybe. Not talking about finances for 4-year-old Billy and Johnny, who need to learn about how to buy candy on budget. But no, we need to tell them about transgenderism, about gender, and even just basic sex. And I was thinking about this lately, and I want to ask you guys about it. What did you even learn from sex ed in high school? Is there even a place for sex education in a public school or anything like that? Because I don't know what anybody learned in an actual high school setting, let alone what you could teach a child that's not already going to find out about itself. And this even sounds creepy saying it. And can you imagine a 40-year-old man or a 40-year-old woman telling a child about their sexuality, discussing what different genders and sexualities are, and talking about their body parts with a child? Is any of that appropriate? Have you guys thought about that at all?
Well, obviously none of it's appropriate. And the problem that they're having here with this, in this particular moment of silence case, is as far as the rights are concerned, okay, these are the same people who, these are Disney employees. So they are under the impression that your rights come from the state. So the state is the, if the state can't say what it wants to you, then they are infringing on your rights. So they have inverted every single little thing. So they praise the state. I'm not like a religious guy, but they look to the government as like literal gods. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is this hyper sensitive thing about a moment of silence, bro. You just like they water down the term Nazi, they water down the term racist. A moment of silence is for somebody who passed away, bro. That's for somebody who died, and you're doing it because you're mad that the teacher can't tell a 6-year-old about
Anal sex.
Exactly. And the last thing is that they are targeting these college girls because look, when you're 18, you're 19, 20 years old, you're a college girl. That's like the prime. Yeah, okay, there's like an emotional thing in high school, but in college, you're really doing nothing. You're trying to fit in. You trying to figure out how the rest of your life is gonna go. And this is where you're like super malleable. You want to fit in, and this is proven because all of the women who are getting beat by this swimming guy is they won't stand up for themselves because a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old college girl is like 9 times out of 10 like the nicest person in the world who wouldn't hurt a fly, just wants to fit in, doesn't. So they're targeting these people, and it makes sense because they're gonna, before that they are certainly targeting the young kids. But this moment of silence thing is I can't think of a better word than cringe. I feel like it's cringe to say cringe, but that's like a whole different meta problem that we're having. And look, it's obviously not appropriate, and you can tell. You can also tell by the way that they're so outraged. They just jump from one thing to the next to make sure that you know how angry they are about the fact that the state will not allow them to talk about anal sex. And for on the last thing here, the kicker, it's they also get to target Ron DeSantis because he's looking like he might run for president. Maybe, maybe not. I think Trump is now, maybe, has he officially declared? I don't know if that officially happened, but it sounds like
no,
he's going to
because you have to do certain things.
So he hasn't officially declared. So Ron DeSantis right now is still really a really big target for them, and they're going to take every chance they get to smear him. And I think it's not really working that well. We shall see.
Keen, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I was thinking while he was talking there, I was thinking when I even had sex ed, and I just remember one week in like grade 8 where it was, and it was fine. Like it was like, this goes here, the baby comes out of here. This is, these are the holes and this is what you do. And we just laughed the entire time, like we just giggled to our buddies and, oh, she said penis. Um but like all the way up until grade 6, like I literally thought it goes into the butt and that's how you make a baby. That's thought I just add in there. It's pretty funny. I No, I think that there is an age and there is a time where you do need sex ed, and you do need to show how things are done. In college, my last year in college, I was actually starting to become like a big advocate for abstinence, or at least just waiting until you find like one that, if you were to have it, just make sure that if you were to have a baby, that's the person that you would want it to be. I don't really care about like marriage and stuff like that, and I actually like made a documentary with school for it and stuff like that. So I do believe that you do need like at least a week or some classes on um, what to do and how to do it safely, because especially now with like the porn culture and the music that we listen to and stuff like that, like you get carried away really fast, and it'd be good for education centers or schools and stuff to show you what really is going on. But to force all this the gay stuff, and I do believe that you need at least like a day or something to say like, this is what this is, this is what that is, just so you can understand. um but kindergarten to grade 3, that's insane, that's disgusting. That's you should still be laughing at the word penis, not showing you where it goes. um I- Push it to grade 8, push it to grade 9, something like that, where you'll actually be experiencing those things for yourself, because it's obvious that that's the time when people start experimenting, and you can't stop it, because if you try to stop it, it's going to get worse, and then that's how you're going to deal with a lot of more teen pregnancies. um I don't know, maybe that's a hot take, but that's where I stand on that.
It's a
And can I just
Degrassi
say,
take.
well, I agree, right? Like there should be some education on this. However, we've gotten to this point where these people, these I don't know, groomers, whatever, these weirdo teachers, they have blurred the line so badly between like a traditional, maybe I don't know if traditional is the word, but like a factual sex education course, right? Versus telling kids, 8th grade or 9th grade or whatever, fine, sex ed makes sense. But they've got it to the point where they're telling you made up things and pretending it's sex education. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you think it, no matter what parts of your body you cut off, your sex is not going to change. And so with the okay to give sexual education, They're gonna, you know what it is. You give them a foot, they take a mile. So okay, we're teaching sex ed, and next thing you know, they're talking about furries and anal and anal beads and all. They're gonna jump off the ledge as quick as humanly possible to confuse these children and manipulate them into believing that anything, like, bro, it's so simple. Like, I wish I was Steph Curry. I wish I was in the NBA and could shoot it from half court. It's not possible. Why is that a laughable thing? Why is Rachel Dolezal a joke? Oh, she says she's transracial and they laughed her out of the building. But for whatever reason, I never understood, and I still can't get an answer as to why your sex is the only thing that can change. And maybe I'm getting off track here, but the point is, sex education, good. It's only unfortunate that the people doing it are going to take it off the cliff as quick as humanly possible.
See, when I was watching these two talk, I was thinking almost like the way that they don't understand. I was thinking about how that they don't understand the legislation, and I'm reminded of a guy named LeBron James, who called the election law change in Georgia, a form of slavery, if I'm not mistaken. Eric, is what they were calling it, taking it back to Jim Crow days. And I was like, without reading this, and I think it was on the show, without reading this, I'm telling you, it's going to be about polling locations and hours and about voter ID. Of course, it was about that. And of course, it was about voter ID. And then they tried to say, and because they know that's a losing argument when people actually hear all they want is ID. Okay. They're closing polling stations and they're doing this, that, and the other, when it actually turned out they were extending polling hours. And then they tried to say, they're making it so you can't have food in line, or you can't, they can't be brought water. The rule wasn't you can't be brought water. The rule is people who work at the election station center can't talk to the people in line, because then that's when they start asking about things like you're not allowed to ask who you're voting for. You're not allowed to manipulate people's votes at all. So they took not being able to talk to people in line, and they took that as they're denying them water if they're standing in line for hours. So that's where the angle I think of when I hear these two 40, 50-year-old women, however old they are, talking about how it's parents' rights and reading it off a screen. And just because, the trans bi union at Disney sent them in, you guys be willing to take a moment of silence or take a minute to talk about this. Florida's trying to take away parents' rights, and they're trying to say that they don't want you to say anything about homosexuals or about trans people. They're trying to erase them from history. That's why it's called the Don't Say Gay bill. Can you please read something about it? And then whatever her name is on ESPN, it's like, well, this game's 44-4. Why don't I talk about this? And that has no idea what it is, doesn't look into it at all, so much that she has to read off of a screen or a piece of paper in front of her. If I'm going to go out there on a limb and say, don't support this bill or attack the governor of Florida for this bill, I'm going to read about it because I don't want to look stupid later. But they also have this protection of, as long as they're liberal on ESPN, they have a dome over them. They have an invisible shield where even if they get it wrong horribly, this is never going to be something that is a detriment to career. They're going to fail up. So that's how I feel about that. I feel like they're kind of in this win-win situation no matter what. You're going to be praised to say this stuff. And even if you're wildly wrong, nobody's going to condemn you for it.
Yeah, like Jussie.
There you go. Out of jail in 2 days because of racism. Kian, I want to move on to what you were talking about was it Calgary yesterday? It was protests. It was Antifa. There's so many protests going on right now. It's hard to keep track of. You want to tell us what happened? And then we have a sweet clip that you sent me.
Yeah, so for the last 2 years, obviously during the COVID phenomenon, we saw protests all over the world. And in Calgary, they happened every Saturday, much like all the other cities here in Canada. So they had the same route every single time, the same, every time I went every Saturday to cover, it was like the same cops every time. Everybody was smiling. You would always see cops and the protesters hugging. You would see while they would go down during the last year with the vaccine mandates, they would walk down what's called the Beltline community. It's kind of like our Queen Street of Toronto. All the restaurants, the nice restaurants, the vibey place you'd call it. and they would see all the people inside the restaurants who had to show their papers to get in, and even they sometimes would be supporting. It would say it was about like 60-40 of support and like some fingers and like get the hell out of my community kind of stuff. Yeah, 60-40 on that. But last weekend, I guess some counter protesters mobilized to block off that route, and their counter protest was not necessarily pro mandate, but more so like stop harassing our community kind of thing. And along with that, obviously, it's a very left. The people that were very left, and you had the radical left, which is the Antifa, who would basically be on the front lines of that, and who would stir things up, throw some punches, and and what's funny about it is that some of them were going to the police and saying, "Can you help us?" About 50% of them, and the other 50% are like the abolish the police crowd. So it was like really funny, like because the police are the only ones who can actually stop the protest and stop them from going on that route. So I thought that was really funny. Anyway, so that's just the context of what happened on Saturday. On Saturday, there was another altercation between these the counter protesters, the protesters, and that's because the other 50% that do like the police, they convinced the city council of Calgary to send a letter to the police commission to basically asking them to crack down and stop the protest. And from that was a court-ordered ex parte injunction that did not allow any unnecessary noise, which includes honking, no amplification in parks. They can't even use the park for any unnecessary reasons that you wouldn't like regularly use a park for. What's some more? You can't walk on the sidewalk in groups. Let's say if you're holding a bunch of flags, you look like you're marching, you can't walk on the sidewalk, and you also can't walk on the road as a march. So the protesters on Saturday, they were like, okay, how do we do this? How do we still protest and get around this injunction? And they decided that they would just go to City Hall instead because that's not a park, so that doesn't it's not in violation of the injunction. So they marched there in smaller groups along the sidewalk, which is still it was about 2,000 people. So imagine 2,000 people trying to walk down a sidewalk like 8 blocks. There was still cars having to stop because everybody can't fit on the sidewalk. It was actually like more dangerous than if they were to all just shut down the road for 5 minutes, 10 minutes and just walk. So they get to City Hall, and I noticed some Antifa members in the back left corner because I've had many run-ins with them before and seen them at different things. And there's only about 10 of them, so I was like, okay, well, you'd think that they would be coming out in more numbers if this thing is heating up. And I saw on the Calgary police site, Twitter, that there was about 150 of them back at the original spot that the protesters usually meet, the park, which is in violation of the injunction. By the way, which they never got ticketed or anything. Anyway, so the protest finished. It was totally fine. There was just a few violations of the injunction, arrests at City Hall, which was one of them was honking a horn. The man's arrested. He could face up to 6 months in jail, and I think it's a $5,000 fine. So they made it back to Central Memorial Park, which is the initial part, where 150 or let's say around that number of counter protesters were standing there, essentially waiting for them. And the police had a line just in the middle, but it was like 50 feet, and then there was like nothing on the other side. So we're like watching them just go at it, just yelling at each other. The Antifa's calling them fascists, and then they're yelling at a bunch of like brown dudes who came from India, like calling them white supremacists, which is hilarious, laughing like so hard. Anyways, 5 Antifa members, which I know 3 of them, they went around the side and they just jumped this one dude, like this freedom protester, like absolutely just jumped him. If you want to pull up the clip now, Andrew, the one from Mocha's Twitter. So this is the start of the fight where you'll see those 2 girls that just got, well, one of them was a dude dressed up as a girl, just got actually bodied. Behind that tree right there is 4 Antifa dudes just stepping on this guy on the ground. They're just absolutely pouncing on him. Like it was, and one of them was in a wheelchair, like hitting his legs. You can kind of see the guy in the wheelchair on the right. Like it was just insane. It was the assault on that guy. Like I've never seen anything like that. So fast and so coordinated. It was like it was impressive and a horrible word to use, the way that they were able to just mobilize like that on this guy and get so many like critical hits in. Anyway, so these fights just took out for like another 20 minutes of running around the cops and then trying to hit somebody. And it happened on both sides. But this has been a peaceful protest for 2 years. Uh, Literally every Saturday they would go out there. There'd be no issues, like I said earlier, until these agitators started showing up. And not even all of them are agitators. The other ones are these people are saying, get out of our community, get out of the Beltline, but they're like 4 blocks away from the Beltline at this point. So anybody here is not actually there for the cause on the counter protester side. Like these guys are nowhere near the Beltline or the Queen Street of Calgary, let's say. So it's just so obvious that these people were out there just to cause a stir up. And now you see the mainstream media just last night after all of this, they were coming out saying that that for 2 years that the communities have been harassed, all this violence and the racism, and like you see these signs. If you guys are watching the screen right now, like it's like these people literally have no idea the group that has been walking down. Like you see kids, families, you see so much, like you see LGBTQ flags in the freedom protest. They walk down with their flags and they say they write freedom on their flag. They're LGBTQ. Like it just made absolutely no sense. But I'll stop rambling here and I just thought it's very like it was a very crazy day. I've never seen anything like that before in Calgary.
Well, I think where they try to pull this, like the one side says you're marching with Nazis, that's the effect the media has when they called the freedom protest in Ottawa and they had the one swastika and the one Confederate flag, even though they're very different. And that's what people, and unfortunately, it's a lot of boomers who think this way. And then university students, somehow their horseshoe has connected over the last year or so with things like Ukraine, which we'll get to, and things like the freedom protest and vaccination. It's really boomers and, high school and college kids. And then that's the justification they use. Oh, we saw that one flag at the other protest on the other side of the country. You know what I mean? But Antifa is going to be Antifa, I think. And Eric, if you want to jump in on this, I wonder what took them so long to kind of confront this stuff. But at what point, what do you think they're even protesting? Like the restrictions are lifting and these people still want to come out because they're still, you can't fly or take a train in Canada without a vaccine passport. What is Antifa coming there to represent? Is it the classic we're against, white supremacist narrative, do you think?
So before Eric jumps in, I can kind of put in a point there. There was the group of Antifa, like the ones that are like actually self-identify as Antifa. Look, shut up. They they had a flag that said "Good night, white power," and it was like it was huge, and their whole thing there was just get the Nazis out of our town. They had signs saying like go back to the suburbs. Like Calgary is just one big suburb. It really is, but they're just going on this racial nonsense at this point because they're not about, like, no one said the word the big V word, vaccine. No one said that. It's not even about COVID anymore at this point. It's like they're literally just think that they're racist walking down their street, and it's not even their street. Like it's insane.
Look, okay, so I'm just curious though, if we're going to talk about they feel like they have been harassed for 2 years. I mean, what planet are we on, bro? Like these crazy mandates. And look, I'm not super well versed with what's happening in Canada, but as I understand it, like they were some of the most extreme, restrictions, regulations, vax, mask, all this sort of stuff for the better part of 2 years. So it's just hilarious that when somebody finally pushes back against what these government officials have been doing for 2 years, it immediately gets flipped on its head and now they're being harassed. It's like, dude, you guys could have left me alone and we would have been just fine. And secondly, it's also very creepy at how similar these Antifa people act, right? I mean, they get a pass in New York, they get a pass in LA, they get a pass in San Francisco. Obviously, they run Seattle and Portland. They totally own this whole place. And they never have to talk, they never have to explain themselves. They can hit you with a bike lock, they can, harass you, they can scream at you, they can stop your protest, and they still get a pass. So it's like, I used to think, and I wish this were the case, I used to think it was just like, Democratic Party henchmen sent out by Soros or Clinton or Kamala or Biden or whatever, just to like, uh sway American politics. But this is clearly a much more global thing, to the point where they literally have the same playbook. They harass, they beat people, and 9 times out of 10, they could literally be stomping out a guy, with his family, and the guy who may have made one swing back at them ends up in the police car. That's the I don't know if this is how does this end? How do we get out of this? These people are insane. The worldwide brainwashing. Of course, it's not worldwide, right? I think there are actually a lot fewer of them than the media would like us to think, right? So the media kind of plays a double-edged sword, almost like they're going to tell you that it's not even really real. Antifa is not real. They're a fringe minority, but then they're also going to tell you that the sane people, the people who don't want to be forced to take a shot and who don't want to be forced to wear a mask, they're also trying to convince us that those people are the fringe minority and they're just, selfish grandma killing Nazis. So it's all an absolute complete mess, and I don't see a way out of it. That's the black pill, I guess.
Well, speaking of insane,
yeah,
you go, Andrew.
I was gonna say, the thing is that the politicians agree with Antifa, and Kian just sent me this letter from Calgary City Council. They voted 13-2 to send this to the Calgary Police. They say residents who live in the Beltline have been subjected to disruption of their lives by a sustained mobile protest that moves through the neighborhood every Saturday afternoon. So here's the thing, Canada. And it was the same thing with the protests in Ottawa, and the same thing with the protests at the border. It's okay when the government disrupts your life. According to these people, it's okay when the government disrupts your life. It's okay when they shut down borders. It's okay when they shut down businesses. It's okay when they restrict your movement. But as soon as citizens decide we're going to walk through a street and ask for our freedoms back, the Calgary City Council votes 13-2 to say, hey, police, we need to shut down these protests. We need to please take away more of our rights, because we haven't seen any halting to our way of life. We've probably received raises like MPs do across the country. And they're saying that people are being harassed. Stuff nobody's ever harassed. That's the thing. You might find like 1 or 2 people every few weeks,
I don't even think that, bro. They have been harassing us. Like, sorry, I'm just getting turned up. Like, they have been harassing us, and they convinced it. They turned it into this completely backwards thing, to the point where, Andrew, just like you said, as soon as somebody stands up and says, "All right, enough," they're like, "Oh, well, they're crazy people. Did you see that flag that we planted in there? Look at them. Get them out of here." The gaslighting is through the roof. They're trying to drive me crazy, and it's working.
They're also willing to lie is the thing. They're willing to lie. If a restaurant owner is pro Antifa or a socialist somehow in some world where you can run a business but also be a socialist, they're willing to lie for their cause. Just like, Taqiyya in Islam, lying to further the jihad. The communists and the anti-fascists, as they call themselves, they will lie. Like, just like they said in that video, oh, you're attacking a woman, when it's like a guy dressed up as a woman. Like, they're willing to lie because they think the ends justify the means. And if Calgary City Council is willing to say that people have been harassed if they disagree with it politically, which we know they do. Every major city in Canada is very left wing. What were you going to say, Kian?
Yeah, on that letter, I think just the best points is the bottom point of the first page, where they say, "We are trapped inside our homes and neighborhood with an impending sense that something worse will come each week." That's not even the worst one. On the second page, the first point at the top, our children are exposed to people screaming at them to remove their masks, and it results in us staying home instead of being active in our community. And the third and final, I have changed my Saturday routine in the past year to ensure I do not have to leave my home. My ability to enjoy my community has been stripped of me. As if they
But who's
can't wait
saying
10
that?
minutes.
The mayor.
These are just people. These are
Okay.
people. Those are people in the community. They reached out and got some perspectives from the people on the Beltline, which is the Queen Street of Toronto. So they literally are saying that they cannot go out. All they have to do is wait 10 minutes. and let the people who have not been able to go inside anywhere in any city, in any
Mhm.
province of this country, because they can't even fly there, they can't even enter to go get a burger. They can't even do that. So why can't you just let them protest for 10 minutes? You have to change your whole day so that you don't have to go outside to hear them chant freedom. Like, sure, it's pretty loud, but it's literally, if you're living on that street, you can only hear them for about 10 minutes while they walk.
But at
What
the
about
same
the
time, they'll
pots and
complain to
pans? Do you
change
remember that
everything.
though? That
That's just
what-
for the nurses, though. That's for the
Okay.
frontline workers. How dare you?
Like that was, it's like the clappy hour, the like mildly retarded like happy hour, and these people are clapping, hitting a pan with a spoon. I remember, sorry, I just get so triggered by this, but I remember very vividly when I lived in Flatbush, Brooklyn, seeing a woman at the top floor, like the fourth floor of her building, with gloves and a mask on, hanging outside of her window, smacking a pot with a spoon. And it's like, you're at home wearing gloves, you're cheering for the nurses, but you're still so scared. I mean, the noise thing is ridiculous. This is all ridiculous. Get me out of here, bro. Where's the exit? This is insane.
Exit to your right. We can get to another title track. Eric suggested this one. Boston social justice activist scammed at least $185,000 from their donor. So Boston BLM, and you can see isn't New York Post so weird how they have good journalism, they have bad journalism, and then they just have like tabloid stuff at the same
The
time?
Post is, they're all over the place. Absolutely. Which is better than a lot of outlets out there. So
a high-profile social justice activist in Boston and her husband used a nonprofit they founded to scam at least $185,000 from donors who included a Black Lives Matter chapter, and the local district attorney's office, federal authorities allege. Monica. So wait, did they defraud? They defrauded BLM.
They defrauded the people who donated to BLM, and then
Okay.
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question.
She established the nonprofit in 2017, the same year she made headlines for helping the organization fight supremacy. March in Boston followed the deadly Unite the Right rally. The deadly, obviously, there's no defending Charlottesville and the possible feds or losers that were at it, but more people died in BLM riots. Vastly more people were hurt. And this is just this thing people cling to. I can't stand it. I can't stand when people bring up Charlottesville. It's the dumbest thing ever. It was like neo-Nazis versus communists, and it was supposed to be like such a January 6th was way worse, and one person died and they were shot by a federal officer, and they're still held to the same regard. It doesn't, none of this stuff ever makes sense.
Well,
and
it's
the same
also
thing.
strange. No,
I was just gonna say there's this set of lies that for some reason never are allowed to die. And one of them is Trump saying, to do with that, good people on both sides. You know what I mean? There's always a set of lies. And it's like when you watch The View, they just have their opinions predicated on this set of lies that already existed. Trump said ban all Muslims, for example. Just like they go on things as a matter of fact when it's not actually true. And speaking of masks, but you were going to say?
Well, with the Charlottesville thing, it's very similar to what we see with Kyle Rittenhouse, right? There's still people out there who think that Kyle Rittenhouse killed two black people. There's still people out there that think the woman killed in Charlottesville was black. Those just aren't the facts, but they don't care. They do not care. And this woman knows it. She's going to use it. It's a buzzword, right? You can put the word Charlottesville on anything, and then some gullible chumps out there will certainly give you money. It's insane. People just, it's also hilarious now when we're dealing with all this inflation and crazy high gas prices. Now, of course, this is an older scam, but it's just kind of funny how people would seriously be willing to give money because they think it's going to make them look not racist, I guess. And I still struggle with it myself because I still have this faith in humanity that most people aren't that stupid. And it's just the media convincing us that there's more dummies out there contributing to this than there actually are. Because I think that if you actually, talk to a lot of people, if you travel the country, you're going to find very few people, even in the crazy parts of San Francisco, New York, LA. If you talk to somebody one-on-one, I still don't think everybody's quite as dumb as they make it out to be in the media. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe we'll start doing.
Here's how they defrauded them. They made a $3,000 donation. So BLM might be the good guys in this situation. BLM made a $3,000 donation via PayPal to support violence in Boston is a group, apparently. A group called Violence in Boston, the program to feed needy children. I hope that wasn't only of one race. Only to have the money secretly transferred 2 days later to a bank account belonging to Cannon Grant's family members, the indictment says. So basically, she's taking donations, and I guess BLM Boston trusted her, and then she just immediately transferred it to her relatives. Her nonprofit was awarded $6,000 in forfeited assets to take 10 at-risk young men from Boston's crime-rated Roxbury neighborhood to a 3-day violence prevention retreat. Okay, that's not that bad. And then what happened? But instead of using that money, Cannon Grant and her hubby, who at the time had balances of just $135 and $21 in their checking account,
No way. No.
allegedly blew it on a trip to Columbia, Maryland the following month. So these people have no money, and they're just like, you know what? We can't keep this money in our bank accounts. We have to blow it immediately or transfer it to our family members so that nobody's.
Worst
How
part
are
is they
you-
spent all that money to go to Maryland.
Yeah, I've never heard of Columbia, Maryland. Probably some good, American colony history or something there, but the
I don't
spending
know. That
included more.
DC area, DC, Maryland, Virginia is just the pits, bro.
My apologies. What does Maryland love? Crab cakes and football, I believe they say in Wedding
Well, I
Crashers.
I get too much. I think I'm maybe tainted from watching The Wire back in the day. That's how I picture the area.
$1,200 at Sonesta Suites Hotel, as well as hundreds more for rental car. So they're not even like heel toeing it. They're getting rental cars. Their meals at Bubba Gump Shrimp Company, Shake Shack. We don't have that here, but I've heard of it. And other restaurants in
It's overrated,
Connecticut, New
for the record.
Jersey. So they went on they rented a car. They traveled through Connecticut, New Jersey, and Maryland. Stayed at a nice hotel. Went to the famous Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. Had some milkshakes, and all on the dime of, they were supposed to be taking kids from a shitty neighborhood to an amusement or to like some sort of, what was it, violence prevention retreat, which was probably, I don't know. I could make fun of that, but I don't know what happens there. At the same time, the Suffolk District Attorney was Rachel Rollins, who last year was named the U.S. Attorney General for Massachusetts, and whose office brought charges against Cannon Grant and her husband. Anything else to this story?
Well,
They
doesn't
didn't
this make
immediately
sense though, right?
turn
I mean, the entire
problem.
organization is built on a lie, bro. The entire organization is built on a lie. So when
Well-
this woman sees that, she says, "Well, it's fair game."
Well, and the other one checked out with her 3 houses. In 2020, their nonprofit began raking in donations up to $50K a month, with some proceeds withdrawn in cash from ATMs or transferred to investment accounts of the Robinhood and E-Trade. So these people just don't know how to do anything, because when you
Yeah.
start a charity, you can't just be withdrawing money. You can't just be transferring it. Like, there's strict laws for charities, and they just had no idea. They're just like, we're getting these donations. They should have left the state, shouldn't they have? Like, I'm sorry to give advice to criminals here, but like, these people are dumb. Like, you are getting all this money, and you're just like, let's go to the local Shake Shack with our money, transfer it to grandma.
They needed
accused of
Marty
committing-
Bird. They need a Marty Bird from Ozark to like help them launder. They were just out in the open, like, "Oh, we'll just transfer here." Like, come on, guys, you got to get a little more creative.
They've also, imagine this too. They're running such a shitty charity, and they get $100,000 in pandemic unemployment benefits. During that time, she collected more than $27,000 in consulting fees for assisting an unidentified media company with diversity, equity, and inclusion, of course. Training, and later paid herself a $27.88 weekly salary from Violence in Boston. So she is making money. They're liquidating everything. How do you have $20 a month and you're getting $27 in your bank account, and you're getting $2,700 a week, and a full-time job with a commuter services company? Wow, this is wild.
I think that's the real story. What is she really spending her money on?
So
Like,
she got a
where is it
full-time
actually
job, a
going?
weekly salary from another charity, and she's charging $27,000 for diversity training.
And okay, who's paying for
also
that?
she's-
That's what I'm curious about. Who's paying?
And
for
also,
that? Who's gonna
she's
say-
fat, Eric, if you didn't notice that already as well. That's
Oh,
also a travesty. Sorry, I had to
but
say
who?
that.
No, I'm genuinely curious. Like, who's gonna say, "Well, yeah, I'll pay you $3,000 to tell me that I'm racist"? What? Like, what's happening?
Government, like think about this. Like you're working for a big company, and they're just like, we got to get in on this diversity crap, and we got to get in on this training. Well, we've got a marketing budget of $30,000, so that we can tell people we've had diversity training and we support BLM, we're going to pay this woman $3,000. The same thing with marketing for anything. They've got it, they need to spend it, and then they can have results from it. It's all a
So this
merry-go-round of
is
crap.
basically just a okay, maybe not money laundering because she clearly got caught and they were doing it all wrong, but this is obviously just a money scam from the top, right? Like from the very top, anybody who's going to allocate funds to teaching diversity, that's a scam from the beginning, right? Because I guess what? I can teach you diversity, right? Just go outside, just go walk around, go talk to people. You'll be fine. Like you don't need you need a fat black
Um,
woman to tell you that to be nice to people. I'm just not understanding what's really going on here. It's clearly a scam. The entire organization has been a scam from the very beginning. It's built on lies, and it is not surprising that look when this woman again, like I said, this woman knows that it's built on lies. She's not now she's bad at scamming, but she's not stupid. So she can look at it and say, "Well, this isn't even real. I could do this." And then she does, and it's all a scam from the very beginning. It's absolutely insane, and people still buy it.
Well, Eric, I think you need to go outside and get some diversity training, okay? You're in Arizona now. There's lots of whites, and I don't know what you plan on doing. I saw your video of these treaters you did. What spawned that? You talked to a lot of white people there, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we talked to a very diverse crew, Andrew. It was St. Patty's Day, and I feel like I wanted to ask something else, but Nick thought we were gonna do trivia. I guess basically he thought that people weren't gonna stop and talk to us unless we offered them money, so we had to make the questions
Hmm.
mildly tough to make it worth the $20. And it was just
Who
a fun
sang the
St.
match
Patty's
theme
Day.
song?
It was
Pardon?
it was just a fun St. Patty's Day thing. And the one thing I don't there's probably going to be some more like little clips coming out, but the one thing that I caught through talking to most of these people is that they completely black out George W. Bush. They go from Obama to Clinton. So they know Donald Trump, they know Obama, they do not remember George W. Bush, and they go straight to Clinton. And that is 97% the fault of the media because we're propped full of like Democratic politicians. This is how cool they are. And they just have somehow, you have like 25-year-old kids, 25 years old who aren't even really old enough to remember Clinton, but they know the name and they completely forget George W. Bush. That was just one of the weird things that I noticed out of that evening.
George W. Star of
Thought that'd be the
Harold
other
and
way
Kumar.
around.
You would think.
Good thing, judging by the wars, Obama wars, Clinton wars. Let's get to this final story before we have to go. And I've been all over this. I'm touting myself as the first pundit in Canada to publicly say, I don't trust Ukraine. And it wasn't that hard because, a year ago it was Hunter Biden in Ukraine. And, this history goes back a long way with their neo-Nazis. Unfortunately, and we have to say for the internet, Putin sucks. He loves trying to re-expand his tentacles into former Soviet countries in Georgia, Crimea, obviously controls Belarus. I'm sure Lithuania and Latvia could be taken in a second, but still, Trudeau and the Ukrainians not doing a great job. So all your stuff about Zelensky's, but the media just ignoring this stuff, and thank God for True North, Candace Malcolm and Andrew Lawton. Watch him on my show today. So Justin Trudeau met with this guy in 2016, his deputy prime minister, Chrystia Freeland, who's basically, you can call her the vice president if you want, but she would be in charge of Justin Trudeau, exploded because he's a robot or something. So she met with this guy in 2019. Who is this guy? Andre Perubi. Now, I looked into all of this because unlike the ESPN anchors, I don't want to look stupid. So this guy started a Nazi party in the Ukraine when he was, I think, 20 years old in the early 90s. And I will Google his name here just so you can see. And maybe they've changed his Wikipedia page by now. I'm doubting it. But we can go ahead and get him immediately and have him on screen. So in the early 90s, 1991, the Social National Party of Ukraine. So he starts a neo-Nazi group in his early 20s as a party in Ukraine as neo-Nazis. Now, later, he participated in a revolution in 2004. And from 1998 to 2004, he led a paramilitary organization. So let's recap already. Started a neo-Nazi party when he was 20, was leading a paramilitary neo-Nazi group into a revolution, and then eventually he would change the party, he would remodel it into a different name and try to get out the most extremist parts of it. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I've actually changed my views from being a race-based socialist, and I want people to say, hey, he's probably changed his views, I wouldn't stay in the same party and just rename it. I'd completely leave and start a new party. That's just me. If I don't want to look like a neo-Nazi, if he should have done that, but he didn't. He stays in this party. Eventually he gets elected all the way up to, as you can see, 2016 he was in office there. And then he's holding all these different positions: Secretary of National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. He's in office all the way up to 2019 here, and he's 51 years old. So unless you're telling me from the year 2004, which is what, 18 years ago, 17 years ago, at the age of 33, now all of a sudden he doesn't have these views anymore. Now all of a sudden he's not a white supremacist, even though he didn't leave his party, he just changed the name. Now this is a great guy, I guess, in 2016 that Justin Trudeau is meeting with, and Chrystia Freeland is meeting in 2019. So they have been meeting. And in 2019, you know exactly what the Ukrainians are doing. They're bombing people who are Russian sympathizers. They hate Russia. They've got this government in since 2014. They've been bombing them. You know who this guy is. He's has a history of, 25 years as a white supremacist. I'm sorry to tell you. And you're shaking hands with him. And this isn't one of those situations where I just got caught in a photograph with this guy. I have no idea who he is. He had meetings with them. He had a body come with him to meet with the prime minister. And you can see, thank you to True North. He co-founded the Nazi-styled Social National Party of Ukraine, a party focused on racial nationalism that even adopted the Nazi wolf's angle symbol as its logo. He renamed this party to the...
Is that it looks like an N with a line through it? Is that the one?
We will go ahead and get that symbol for you.
Yeah.
Looks... So...
No, that one's menacing. That's a very menacing, those sharp angles.
The party was still described as ultra-nationalist and part of their far right. So, this stuff didn't change, and here they have their meeting with him, and it's so lovely. And I don't blame the people of Ukraine. I don't blame the people of Russia. I blame the media who hides all this stuff. Case in point 2, I had another story. Here we go. Specialist Ukraine, and jump in whenever you guys want, because I'm reading this, and this is from the UK, the Sunday Times. Specialist Ukraine drone unit picks off invading Russian forces as they sleep. Ukrainian military puff piece we've got here. So they're saying we attacked their targets with drones while they're sleeping. They have no idea what's coming. First of all, obviously all militaries are going to have people watching at night. So that's not special. That's why it's such a puff piece. Now you look at the guy they're talking to, this Ukrainian commander, and we'll find his name here, Yaroslav Honchar. Now Andrew's sitting in his office saying, who's this guy? Who are they propping up to be this super cool, Ukrainian commander? And I'll try to find it.
Bing? Who uses Bing?
The guy who found out that DuckDuckGo is evil and the only other options were Google and Bing. I don't usually use this browser, Eric. I don't want there to be a Bing segment on this podcast, please. Bing sucks. I'll say it right now. I use the Brave browser most of the time. So anyways, who this guy is, it's a little bit harder to find, but I did find it. I looked him up. He used to be, guess what? A commander in the neo-Nazi battalion, Eric and Kian. Why did he leave, though? He was kicked out. And you might say, well, he left because he doesn't agree with them anymore. And, he's not a neo-Nazi anymore. He doesn't believe in that stuff
Nazi
anymore.
For them?
Too Nazi for them. No, but the real reason he left, you guys, is because he was kicked out because he didn't agree with their looting. It's not that he didn't agree with their ideology, their racism, their corruption. Well, maybe it's corruption. He'd agree that they were looting when they attacked people. When they attacked and bombed a building, they would ransack people And that was bad PR for the neo-Nazi battalion, so they kicked him out. Now, if I can quickly find, and it's all coming full circle here. If I can quickly find Louis Brackpool's tweet where he is showing a clip from British media, and they're showing a drone footage of Russian tanks being bombed from a clip. Where did they get this clip from, Eric? And here it is. I'll put it back up here for everybody. Legacy media outlet Sky News shares footage from the Azov battalion without mentioning they're neo-Nazis. So they're happily showing, Eric, footage, and you can they have Azov in the corner. Once this comes away, you can see the A and the Z and Azov there.
Yeah.
So they're showing footage. There it goes, Azov. Possibly propaganda. We don't know when this is from or anything, but who knows? Here's footage released by the Azov Battalion of the National Guard of Ukraine. The Azov Battalion is a neo-Nazi battalion. There's no question about it. There's no conspiracy here. When the government came into play, they said, should we get rid of these neo-Nazis or not? No, they can be allowed to have their battalion because they fight for the Ukrainian country. This is how insane we are right now.
Wait. So is this...
My mind is exploding every day.
So maybe this is like a tinfoil hat thing, but is this why we've seen for the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, them watering down the term Nazi to the point where it could literally be anybody? And then that
That's
way...
a good theory.
So that way, when they're caught with it, they're, oh, well, whatever, no big deal. And then secondly, it's also a little bit peculiar that, you'd have Trudeau meeting with this guy and that little Christina lady, what's her name? Christania, whatever.
Chrystia Freeland.
Chrystia Freeland, yeah. So they're meeting with these guys. So Trudeau's meeting or last photo with him was what, 4 or 5 years ago, did you say?
His was in 2016.
Okay, so and it just also reminds me of how we've completely swept under the rug that Joe Biden gave the eulogy for the Grand Wizard of the Klan or whatever. Nobody cares. They just don't care. It doesn't matter. We have such a strong hold on this culture, on this media, that you can literally go to a funeral. What was his name? Robert Byrd, I believe. That's what this reminds me of. It's like, well, we spent all this time pointing the finger direct. They called Larry Elder a racist. They call Candace Owens a white supremacist, Brandon Tatum. But then you have a couple of actual real racists, like, racial socialist, whatever, Nazi type of people. And we just ignore it. It. It doesn't matter.
Here's the thing about him. I found him. So it's in that Azov battalion he was a part of in 2014. On June 10th, they dismissed Deputy Commander Yaroslav Honchar, which is the guy the Times was bigging up, if you will, and distanced themselves from him after Honchar made criticizing statements about looting and debauchery, not about racism, not about being a neo-Nazi group, but about debauchery. And then I think the last thing we had was that Zelensky's banning 11 political parties with ties to Russia. Imagine if former President Donald Trump said, there can be no Democrat Party, there can be no Libertarian Party, there can be no Green Party, there can be no Socialist parties. Any party that disagrees with America is now to be banned. So
out of there.
Right now,
I love when people are like, we need to go save the democracy in Ukraine.
So we've got neo-Nazi groups. Right now, they're battling Russian Chechens, hardcore Muslims. Like, we've got this crazy ideological battle. And what happens in the West? Let's give them more money. Let's give them more weapons. They're basically saying, who cares if the Ukrainians keep dying? Give them money to keep fighting. And the Russians are obviously going to beat them. Like, there's no question about that. So you're basically sending these people to their deaths as long as it's hurting Putin, as long as we're milking, television time out of this. It's a crazy time, Eric. And then I'm going to have to
speaking of television,
say, we're not.
Netflix brought his show back. They brought it back on the same day. I believe, you can fact check me on this, but I think it was the same exact day that he is asking Congress here in America to implement a no-fly zone. So he's basically saying, let's do World War III. And Netflix is like, let's put his show back on. Let's make him stream again. So it's crazy, bro. They want to make him a hero.
High school teacher turns president is like based on a true story. They probably added that in on his show.
Oh yeah, they probably like retroactively say, yeah, we knew this was gonna, Netflix
That
is streaming.
foreshadows his presidency.
Yep.
It foreshadowed it, you guys.
It was a comedy. I haven't seen it, but I believe it was a
Yes.
comedy.
Scream
It
CIA.
has weird clips. Exactly right. And did you see his net worth? He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If you didn't know, which of course is a whole other show. We've gone over time. Eric Butler. I had Key and Simone's page up. We'll bring that back up for a moment. Catch him at Rebel News, of course. Rebelnews.com, of course. You can see his latest stuff by going to his journalist page through here. You can see all of his latest stuff. You can see my latest show by going to the shows tab and clicking on Andrew Says. And I'm with Andrew Lawton and Spencer Fernando talking about, the Conservative Party. Should you like them? Which candidates should you like, if any of them? You're me. I'm not liking any of them. You could also listen to the podcast on Spotify and everything. And Eric Butler just put out a brand new set of videos on his Instagram channel and on Alt Reporter, it's called, that we're trying to do some work with there.
Yeah, we're going to be out on the street a little more.
Butler.
We're going to be out on the street a little bit more in the coming months. A little bit.
Maybe I should go out and do some more guest price streeters, It's fluctuating like hell here.
Yeah.
Ian, any final thoughts?
Our Jason Kenney just lifted all the gas tax from the gas stations here, so we got cheaper gas in Canada.
How much is that gonna save you? Off. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it.
I wish we could do something there. Eric, our masks come off tomorrow in Ontario, so I'm gonna be, spitting on restaurant floors and
very science. Good. Follow that science, bro.
Screaming in Walmart. Victory. Let's leave on this video. We'll show a bit of this guy who we can't tell he arrested by police. We can't tell if he's trolling because he says every single troll point in the book. We don't know what happened. Talk to you guys next week. Goodbye, Kean. Thanks for joining us.
We don't let Satan in the house, please. We're not Hillary Clinton. We're not Hillary Clinton. All right, Hillary Clinton, please. Satan. All right, Satan. You see her? I love her.
John, okay.
Thank you. I love you. Hillary. My sister. It's my sister Hillary.
Yeah?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
What's going on with you,
I found her. My 3-year-old stepdaughter just fell and broke her knee, but I took her to the hospital. That's all. I'm just panicking, okay? I'm a black tranny god.
Yeah?
That's what I identify as. But actually, I'm the base god.
Here, John, why don't we come outside?
We're good. Let's go on.
Come on, I'm going to take you with me.
You're not under arrest.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do any crimes.
No crimes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Alright, good call.
But you do need to come with us. Okay?
No.
Okay.
To what?
We have some paperwork that you need to go to the hospital to go see a doctor.
For what?
Because they want to check you out. They want to make sure that you're okay.
I just went this morning. I got my flu shot. I got my COVID shot this morning.
You did?
That's great. Yeah, I just went this morning. That's what, I went to, I got my appointment. I had my COVID shot at the White House with Anthony Fauci. He did it. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great guy.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, your sister's actually going to come with us as well. So, can we start walking over to the car?
Yeah, you can take her with you, and she can go with you.
Oh, no, you're going to come with us, too.
I'm coming with you.
No.
We're going to go right now, John. You need to go.
I'm Teresa.
I see it starting to
Remember,
smell.
I got my transgender changed 3 months ago. I'm Teresa.
Sean.
Don't be a transphobe.
John, you do need to come with us. Okay?
No, we're good.
Okay. So, right now, you don't have much of a choice.
What are my choices?
Your choices are to come with us.
Or go where else?
Depending on how the interaction goes, to jail. But I don't want to bring you to jail.
But
Eric, this guy reminds me of Tim Dillon.
I'm under house arrest. I can't leave, honey.
Just realize that
He does.
We have paperwork that says that you have to come with us to the hospital.
Can I see the documents, please?
We have the paperwork.
Can I see the documents? I get my paperwork from the...
Because whenever they start telling him he has to come in, he just starts acting a little bit more normal. You know what I mean?
Lady, okay, I don't like being this close to men.
Well,
Well, you can go that way. There's nobody right
So, this officer has the paperwork, okay? And he'll explain the paperwork to you.
Well, this here tells us to bring you. All right, John Michael Johnson.
That's not me. That's sir. I'm Teresa Powell.
To Virginia Beach General Hospital.
Right now, you're not being really cooperative with us.
I do not consent to being taken. Do
Okay.
you not understand what being taken is?
I know.
So I don't consent to being taken.
Okay. So, John, you're coming with us.
I don't ejaculate on cops.
That's good. I'm glad.
Whoop, whoop, tranny dicks, tranny dicks, tranny dicks. Whoop, whoop, thank you, sister.
Enough.
So,
I'm not done killing my cops.
Stop.
Okay.
I love killing cops.
So, John, you need to.
Oh my god.
You Jew prison cube having dick.
Turn it up, Jordan.